Sacred art is heaven descending to earth, it is said, rather than earth reaching toward heaven. The symbolism of the Garden of Paradise is archetypally prefigured in the soul and reflected in myth and sacred text throughout the world. For many, it is where we began, where we came from, and where we hope to return at the end of our lives. Islamic gardens, of which those of the Alhambra are widely regarded as the most exquisitely preserved examples in the world, are intended to reflect this divine ideal, to represent it in the outer world of form, and in so doing create a bridge whereby, through reflection, contemplation and prayer within its sheltered confines, one may be led to the inner realms of the soul, to the Garden of Paradise within. Interestingly, the old Persian word for paradise, paradeda, refers to a walled enclosure, a quiet sanctuary where one may be sheltered from the harshness of life beyond its enclaves. The dust and heat of the day are kept at bay, and one is refreshed by the shade and cooling effects of sparkling fountains and glimmering pools. In myth, the Paradise Garden is beyond time, a place where one is completely removed from the concerns of worldly life, where even the memory of sorrow and loss is said for the duration to be forgotten, and one is utterly embraced in the love of the divine. In hot, arid landscapes, and particularly for desert peoples, for whom the oasis, with its date palms and freshwater springs, is the only possible source of replenishment, the symbolism of the Paradise Garden takes on an even greater significance. In colder, wetter climes, the preciousness of its elements, of which water and shade are paramount, is perhaps not so keenly understood, and yet the notion of water as both a reflection of the soul and symbol of God's mercy is universal. It is impossible to imagine the Alhambra without the soothing sounds of water. It is essential to its tone, its song, its very being in the corporeal world. It is the supreme element and inhabits the heart of his Islamic garden design. In her beautifully evocative book, Underneath Which Rivers Flow, The Symbolism of the Islamic Garden, Emma Clarke shows us how the many charming courtyard gardens of the Alhambra unfold around this central element. In the heavenly archetype, she explains, 4 rivers are said to flow forth from a central source, represented as a fountain, creating and irrigating gardens of a 4-fold geometric structure. The uniquely Islamic flat-rimmed stone fountains at the heart of the Alhambra gardens sit close to the ground. The sounds of such fountains are always barely audible, tranquil murmurings, more conducive to meditation and prayer than the high-pressure Renaissance fountains, with their high plinths and louder pronouncements of presence. The four quarters of the classically Islamic garden, known as the Chahar Bar, are often bordered with clipped box hedges and set with date, fig, pomegranate and olive trees, and planted with bulbs, scented flowers and herbs. Tulips, of course, are a favourite, and roses too, as well as violets, saffron, iris, jasmine and narcissus in their seasons. In the Quran, the four gardens of paradise are said to be divided into two pairs. The lowest pair, the garden of the soul and the garden of the heart, and the higher pair, the garden of the spirit and garden of the essence. The symbolism of the four is deeply significant too, mirroring the earth with its four cardinal directions, which combined with the circle at the centre reflects the marriage of heaven and earth. The gardens of the Alhambra, with their fragrant flower blooms and heady scented tree blossom, are blissfully harmonious fusions of each of the elements of Islamic garden design, both in relation to one another and to the architectural complex as a whole. It is said that the only words spoken in the heavenly garden are those of peace, and certainly, as the hours pass, and one is drawn more and more deeply into the mysteries of the Alhambra, it gradually weaves its potent spell, and we are enchanted. We are brought into harmony with its sacred song, so that, like our heavenly prototypes, who have somehow glimpsed the paradise beyond, we too may forget our sorrow and pain, and for the duration we may rest in the serene embrace of the divine. We owe an enormous debt of gratitude to the architects and artists who created the wonder that is the Alhambra. And yet for all their immense skill, dedication and devotion, no personal acclaim is accorded within the Islamic tradition. The role of the artist is not to render personal imaginings, but rather to reflect, to bring down, if you like, to attune to what is greater and beyond themselves, to that which is archetypally prefigured in the pattern and structure of the cosmos itself. And in so doing, they have enabled us all to glimpse a divinity at its very heart, a sacred consciousness, a soul, if you like, to which we are all eternally connected. Whoever shall make the hidden manifest, say the alchemists, knoweth the whole work.